It was a bright and peaceful morning. The sun was shining softly through the curtains, painting the room in warm golden light. The sound of birds singing outside made everything feel alive and calm. Today was her big day, her wedding day. She woke up early, full of excitement. Her name was Amara, a young black woman with a gentle smile and dreams in her eyes. She had waited for this day her whole life. Everything was ready. The dress, the flowers, the guests, the music. Her friends were already downstairs decorating the hall, laughing and calling her name. Amara sat in front of her mirror wearing a white silk robe. Her reflection smiled back at her, happy, nervous, and glowing. She whispered softly, "Today, I'll finally be his wife." Her hands trembled slightly as she touched her wedding dress hanging beside her, beautiful, white, and full of promise. But somewhere deep inside, a strange feeling touched her heart. Something didn't feel right. She tried to ignore it. "It's just wedding nerves," she told herself. She picked up her phone to call him, Marcus, her soon-to-be husband. The screen lit up, but there were no messages. No calls, no good morning, no I can't wait to see you. Just silence. Amara smiled nervously. "He's probably busy getting ready," she said, trying to comfort herself. But her heart whispered something else. What if he's not coming? Her best friend, Tasha, entered the room with a big grin. "Girl, you look like a dream. He's gonna faint when he sees you." Amara laughed softly, hiding her worry. "You think so?" Tasha nodded. "Of course. You two were made for each other." The makeup artist started her work. Soft foundation, gentle blush, red lipstick. Amara looked like a queen, but behind her bright eyes was a flicker of doubt, small but growing. The camera panned slowly to the wedding dress swaying near the window. The wind outside grows slightly louder. The soft sound of music fades, replaced by a faint heartbeat sound. She checks her phone again. Still nothing. The screen stays black. A quiet sigh escapes her lips. She looks out the window. Children running, guests arriving, flowers being placed one by one. Everything looks perfect, but her smile fades just a little. She holds her phone close to her chest and whispers, "Please don't make me wait today." A knock on the door breaks the silence. "Amara, it's time to get dressed." She stands up slowly, takes a deep breath, and smiles into the mirror. She doesn't know. This will be the last smile she gives before her world changes forever. The music fades. The phone vibrates once. The screen lights up. Unknown. Message. "I can't do this." The sound of laughter filled the wedding hall. Guests were arriving, dressed in beautiful colors, carrying gifts and smiles. The air smelled of roses, perfume, and joy. Everything was shining, except her heart. Amara stood near the window, her wedding dress now glowing under the morning light. She looked like an angel. But inside, she was trembling. Her eyes kept going back to the phone on the table. It had been 10 minutes since that message. "I can't do this." She had read it again and again, hoping maybe she saw it wrong, but it didn't change. The words stayed the same. Simple. Cruel. Final. Outside, her best friend Tasha was calling for her. "Come on, girl. Everyone's waiting." "He's almost here." Amara didn't answer. She couldn't. Her lips were shaking. Her hands felt cold. She looked in the mirror. The girl she saw didn't look like a bride anymore. She looked lost. She picked up the phone, tried calling him. Once, twice, 3 times. No answer. She sent a message. "Marcus, what do you mean?" "Please reply." The text went through. But no blue tick appeared. Downstairs, the music started and it was soft, romantic. Perfect for a grand entrance. The crowd clapped. Everyone thought the groom was on his way, but he wasn't. Amara's mother entered the room smiling proudly. "Baby, it's time. Everyone is waiting." Amara turned slowly. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Her mother's smile faded. "What's wrong?" Amara handed her the phone. Her mother read the message. Her face turned pale. The phone slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. Silence filled the room. Downstairs, the priest was standing by the altar holding his Bible, glancing at the door. "Where's the groom?" someone asked. The wedding planner looked nervous. "He should be here by now." Minutes passed. The guests started whispering. Did something happen? Is he late? Maybe he changed his mind. The whispers grew louder like buzzing bees. The music stopped. The cameras turned toward the door. The bride still hadn't come down. Then, Amara appeared. She walked down slowly, her white dress glowing under the lights. Everyone smiled, clapped, not knowing the truth. Her eyes searched the hall, desperate, terrified. The groom's chair was empty. She stood still. Every second felt like an hour. Her heart pounded so loudly, she could barely hear anything else. Her mother came beside her, whispering, "Maybe he's on the way." But she knew. He wasn't coming. The priest lowered his Bible. The music ended. All that remained was silence. Amara took one step forward, then stopped. She looked at the empty chair again, then at the phone in her hand. One tear rolled down her cheek. The crowd fell silent, realizing something terrible had happened. The camera slowly zooms in on her face. Heartbreak, disbelief, fear, all mixed together. The bouquet slips from her hands and falls to the floor. The petals scatter across the white carpet. The sound of the petals hitting the ground echoes louder than anything else. The hall was quiet. Too quiet. Only the soft hum of the air conditioner filled the room. Every guest's face had changed from excitement to confusion. The music had stopped. The laughter had died. And the smell of fresh flowers now felt heavy, like it didn't belong anymore. Amara stood at the center of it all. Her white dress shimmered under the light, but her soul felt dark. She looked around, searching for him, hoping, praying. Maybe he'll walk through that door. But the door stayed closed. Her eyes froze on the empty chair at the altar. The flowers on his seat were still fresh. The ring box still waiting. She blinked once, and her vision blurred with tears. A voice whispered from the crowd. "He's not coming." Another murmured. "He left her." The whispers grew, spreading like fire across the hall. Amara felt her knees weaken. Her hands trembled. Her heart was beating too fast. Yet everything around her moved too slow. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run. But her body wouldn't move. The world had turned cold. Tasha ran up to her, trying to hold her, whispering, "Amara, breathe. Maybe there's a reason." But Amara couldn't hear her. Her ears were ringing. The walls felt like they were closing in. The bouquet slipped from her hand and hit the floor softly. Rose petals scattered. Rolling across the white carpet, everyone watched in silence. A camera flash went off. Someone took a photo, and that broke something inside her. Her tears started falling fast now. Her makeup smudged. Her lipstick faded, but she didn't care. She fell to her knees, clutching her chest, whispering, Why would he do this to me?" Her mother ran forward, hugging her tightly, crying with her. But even her mother's arms felt far away. Amara's eyes stared blankly at the floor, where her dream had fallen, broken, just like the rose petals. The priest slowly stepped back, removing the wedding ring from the table. One by one, people began leaving quietly. The laughter that once filled the air was gone. Tasha helped her stand up. Amara's veil was torn, her eyes swollen, but she didn't say a word. She looked around the empty hall, the candles still burning, the flowers still beautiful, the music still waiting to be played. Everything was perfect, except the love that was missing. As she turned to leave, a gust of wind blew through the open door. It made her veil flutter like a ghost behind her. She paused, looked back one last time, and whispered, "This wasn't supposed to be my story." Her voice cracked. Tasha held her hand tightly. They walked out slowly, leaving behind the echoes of laughter, love, and betrayal. The camera lingers on the empty altar, the ring still there, the chair still empty, the dream gone. The hall was empty now. The laughter was gone, the music silent, and the scent of roses hung heavy in the air like a memory that refused to fade. Chairs stood scattered, half fallen, some still draped with ribbons that no longer mattered. The white carpet was covered with footprints, rose petals, and broken pieces of a dream. Amara stood alone near the stage. Her dress, once a symbol of love, now felt like a weight pulling her down. The candles still burned softly, their flames shaking with the wind, like tiny hearts still holding on to hope. The echo of her name still floated somewhere in the air. Just an hour ago, everyone had been cheering for her, clapping, smiling, blessing her future. Now there was no one left to say anything. Her phone lay on the table. Still no reply, no call, no message. The last thing he said, "I can't do this," glowed on the screen like a wound that wouldn't heal. She stared at it until her eyes blurred. The sound of her heels echoed as she walked slowly across the hall. Each step felt heavier than the last. She passed by the empty altar, the rings still placed neatly on the white cloth, untouched. Priest's book still open, waiting for vows that would never be said. She touched the seat where he was supposed to sit. Her fingers trembled. The seat was cold. Her voice broke the silence. Just a whisper. Why? It wasn't a question for anyone in the room. It was for the sky, for the love she thought was real, for the promises that were only words. Tasha entered quietly, her eyes red from crying. "Amara, please come home, it's over." Amara didn't move. Her gaze was fixed on the door where he was supposed to appear. She finally turned to her friend. "How do you walk away from something that never really ended?" Tasha had no answer. She just hugged her. Outside, the sky had begun to darken. Thunder rolled in the distance, soft but heavy. The decorations fluttered in the wind, like ghosts of a wedding that never happened. Amara walked toward the exit, the long train of her gown trailing behind like fading memories. As she reached the door, she looked back one last time. The hall glowed softly under the dim lights, beautiful, empty, and broken. She whispered to herself, "This silence, it's louder than his words." A single candle went out as she stepped outside. The wind grew stronger, carrying away the last bit of her perfume, the last bit of her old life. The night had grown darker. The wedding lights were still glowing outside the hall, but they looked lonely now, flickering like tired hearts that refused to die. Amara walked slowly through the silent hallway toward the bridal room. Her footsteps echoed softly, the sound of her heels mixing with the faint whisper of rain starting to fall outside. Her hands were shaking, her veil torn, her lipstick faded, but her eyes were dry now. She had cried every tear she could. Now, there was only silence, the kind of silence that hurts more than any scream. When she opened the door to her room, the lights flickered. Everything was the same. The mirror, the perfume bottles, the flowers on the table. Except for one thing, a letter, folded neatly, placed right beside her wedding bouquet. She froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Slowly, she stepped closer. The envelope had her name written on it, Amara, in his handwriting. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The paper was slightly wet, maybe from rain. Or maybe from tears, his or hers, she couldn't tell. She sat down slowly on the chair and opened it. Her eyes moved over the words, each one cutting deeper than the last. "Amara, I know this is the worst way to do this, but I had to tell you the truth. I love you, I really do. But I can't be the man you think I am." Her hands tightened around the paper. She kept reading, voice shaking. "There are things you don't know about me. I've lied, Amara. Not about loving you, but about who I really am. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I was scared. Scared you'd see me differently. I couldn't stand there today and lie again. You deserve honesty, even if it breaks you." Tears rolled down her face again, silent and endless. She whispered, "What are you hiding, Marcus?" The next lines were smeared as if written in a hurry. "Please don't hate me. I'm leaving the city tonight. Don't try to find me. Just remember, I loved you enough to let you go." Her breath stopped. She pressed the letter to her chest, shaking her head, whispering, "No. No, this can't be real." The camera focuses on her trembling hands, the letter stained with mascara and rain. Lightning flashes outside the window, lighting up her face, and broken but still beautiful. She looks at the mirror. Her reflection looks back. Empty and pale, the once happy bride now looks like a ghost of herself, and then, quietly, she says, "He didn't leave me for someone else. He left me because he was afraid." The sound of thunder fills the room. The wind blows through the window, scattering the pieces of the letter across the floor. One piece lands near her feet. It reads only 2 words: "Forgive me." The screen fades slowly to black. The soft sound of rain continues. The night was still, the rain had stopped, but the sound of water dripping from the roof echoed through the empty house. Amara sat on the floor, surrounded by torn pieces of the letter. The candles had burned low, their light soft and golden, casting shadows that moved slowly across the walls. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her voice gone silent, but inside her chest, something new was beginning to grow. Not peace, not yet, but something like fire. She looked at the mirror in front of her. The woman staring back didn't look weak anymore. Her face was tired, her makeup ruined, but her eyes, and they were fierce, broken, yes, but burning. She whispered, "You left me, Marcus, but you didn't destroy me." She stood up slowly, her body trembling but her step steady. She picked up the torn pieces of the letter and dropped them into the candle flame. The paper burned, curling and turning black, the ashes falling like dead promises. For a moment, she watched the fire dance, and she felt something she hadn't felt all day: freedom. She walked toward the window. Outside, the night sky was clearing. The moon came out from behind the clouds, bathing everything in silver light. The world hadn't stopped. The stars still shined. Life still moved. Amara took off her veil and placed it gently on the chair. Then she looked at her reflection again. The veil was gone. So was the fear. She whispered softly, "I cried enough for him. Now I cry for me, for the girl who loved too much and lost herself." She touched the mirror, her fingers leaving small marks on the glass. "I forgive you," she said. And then, after a pause, "I forgive myself." She opened her closet, pulled out a long black coat, and wrapped it around her white wedding dress. No more bride, just a woman, walking out of the ashes of her old life. The music begins, soft piano, hopeful but sad. As she steps outside, the morning light starts to rise, the sky turns from gray to orange, the air feels new. She walks barefoot on the wet ground, the cold grass touching her feet. Each step is slow, heavy but full of purpose. Behind her, the burned letter turns to dust. In front of her, the road stretches wide, unknown but waiting. The camera pans out slowly. Amara walking toward the sunrise. The wedding hall fading in the background, her voice echoes softly. "You didn't break me. You woke me." The light grows brighter, the world begins again. The first light of dawn touched the sky, soft, golden and quiet. Birds began to sing again, as if the world was gently reminding her that life hadn't stopped. Amara walked down the empty road, barefoot, her wedding dress brushing against the wet ground. Her hair was messy, her eyes still swollen, but her face looked calm, the calm that only comes after the storm has passed. Every step she took felt lighter than the last. For the first time in hours, she could breathe. Behind her, the wedding hall stood still, silent and fading into the morning mist. The flowers were falling, the candles dying, the decorations losing color. Everything that once looked beautiful now looked like a dream that had finally ended. Amara stopped for a moment and looked back. Her eyes didn't fill with tears this time. Instead, there was peace. She whispered softly, "Goodbye." She turned and walked toward the sunrise. The soft wind played with her hair as if nature itself was comforting her. For a second, she smiled. Small, tired, but real. She reached a small hill where the city lights disappeared and the world opened wide. The view was breathtaking. Mountains far away, sun breaking through the clouds, birds flying free. It felt like the world was offering her a second chance. She sat down on the grass, the hem of her wedding dress catching the sunlight. She closed her eyes and listened. The wind, the birds, the silence. It wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. She thought about Marcus, his smile, his lies, his letter. And instead of hate, she felt something else. Understanding. Maybe he left because he was weak. Maybe he left because he was scared. But his leaving had given her something he never could. Strength. Amara opened her eyes and said quietly, "You left me on my wedding day, but you gave me back myself." The camera circles her slowly as the sunlight grows stronger. Her white dress glows like it's made of light, not pain. The music swells, soft piano turning into a hopeful melody. A small butterfly lands on her hand. She looks at it and smiles, whispering, "I guess this is how endings look when they turn into beginnings." The screen slowly fades to golden light as her voice echoes one last time. "He left me in pieces, but I built something beautiful from every broken part." The music stops. Only the sound of wind remains. He left her on the wedding day. The black girl narrative. Sometimes, the person who leaves you saves you. She stood alone on the day that was supposed to change her life forever. But maybe life was never meant to be perfect. Maybe it was meant to be real.